Building a truss. We're building truss day.
Oh, for the 80?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But we need to cut all the stuff off the front. And maybe cut the towers off the rear, relocate the shock brackets for the axle. No, seriously.
I quit.
No,
I quit.
seriously, we have to cut it all off.
I'm going.
We have to.
What's up, Lite Nation?
What's going on, YouTube?
Guys, the Rock Crawler Rockzilla kit came in for the Stepchild 3.0 build.
So finally, along with our Dynatrack axles, we have the Rock Crawler Rockzilla kit, which is a double triangulated 4-link rear. You can keep your coil springs, or you can go maybe coilovers or whatever you want to do. You could swap that out. It comes with this huge subframe frame truss. This sits between your frame rails, and these are your new rear arms. So there's no more rear track bar, and everything's gonna be nice and even and flexy.
No binding,
no
all the articulation.
Yeah, and no axle swing from the track bar. And then this is the big skid that will go up under it. So it kind of locates on the front and the rear. So this is, yeah, a nice, beautiful big skid. Now I did talk to Dan at Next Venture Motorsports, and he may make us an aluminum one of these, an aluminium one of these with some UHMW. So it'll shave some weight and it'll be nice and slippery that way. So I got him, I got Dan with Rock Crawler, and they're kind of working that out, which would be super cool.
But before we really get into all of this, I want to take a second to tell you about the 72-inch Dynatrack axles that are going into the Stepchild. Now, as most of you already know, we went with Dynatrack's Elite Pro Rock XD6080 axle set. Chris has already installed the XD60 front axle, which means that this monstrosity here is the Pro Rock 80, which unironically comes equipped with Dynatrack's patented Pro Rock ground clearance, meaning it has the highest ground clearance of any other axle housing in its class. And this 4-inch diameter chromoly axle tubing also has the highest strength to weight ratio of any other light truck axle on the market. It is also equipped with a forged, heat-treated, 40-splined, full-floating 4340 alloy steel shaft and heat-treated 4140 fixed spindles. All of that on top of a massive 11.25-inch ring gear, and of course, this super sick nodular iron diff cover. All of which is just a bunch of fancy words and crazy numbers that ultimately translate into this thing is f***ing bomb-proof. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Brittany. While we were doing that, Kevin over here.
This is why you don't work on you
This is why you don't work on Kevin's stuff. We found an issue. Let me show you.
So you guys remember how this third link here, how this cross member is bent, pushed up and over into the body, and all this is hitting, this whole thing is bent to shit. Well, if you notice, we have a homemade, man-made porta power over my head here, so we've got a jack and a 4x4.
There's not a lot of pressure on it, so
no,
it's not under tension right now. It's not going to come flying out of there and knock Kevin out.
The reason is because our triangulated 4-link bracket doesn't fit between the frame rails. That's not Rock Crawler's problem. It's ours because we think that, well, we're pretty sure this right here is squeezing the frame together.
It's pushed up, so it's squeezing
the frame together just enough. So we try to push the frame back apart, but this isn't this mechanical.
And we got it a little bit because now these ears, the ears fit in there. But now I can't get the rest of it in there. So.
Right. So basically, essentially, this is squeezing the frame in just enough to not get this Rockzilla kit in here. We could either grind this down a little bit.
Probably the easiest, quickest way. But
I think what we should do is actually cut this thing out of here. And the reason why we're gonna cut this out of here because it should release the tension, and then this will go in here. And since this is getting
right in front of it, literally right in front of it.
Right. So since this is getting welded in here, we really don't need this.
And that's just extra weight.
Yeah,
we're trying to go flyweight here.
We'll save a little weight. So we'll cut this out. We'll cut the third link out because we were just going to leave that all there, but now it turns out we can't leave that there because it's squeezing the frame together. And then now I'm wanting to cut the coil spring buckets out because I was going to leave it coil spring with bypasses, but since we have the Dynatrack 72.5s, I think we can do coilover bypass up front and coilover bypass in the rear, which would be sick. Let's cut that out, grind down the frame, get that shoved.
Now the fun begins.
Yeah, I think so. This is where the magic happens.
All right, so getting these, we get lucky this time because we already have the Rock Crawler front long arm. So all we have to do is basically take this plate, bolt this plate back up to where we were, and then that subframe bolts into the back of this, and that'll locate the whole thing for us.
Right, because the Rockzilla kit will actually come with triangulated 4-link rear and a 3-link front, but we've already been 3-link, so all that work we don't have to do. Luckily, it's just this back half, which should just be easy peasy. I mean, you just weld that in and put the arms on and put the belly skid on, and we're good to go.
Should be easy peasy.
For me.
Hey, I'm here.
All right, so I got the belly all back out of here. We're gonna end up cutting this subframe out. I don't know if it's bent enough to actually have pulled the frame rails in, but we don't need it. That truss is so much beefier that it would overpower this anyway. So we're gonna cut this out, and I'm pretty sure we have to remove the old 3rd-link bracket, so we're gonna cut this out as well. If it's not really needed, we're gonna cut it out because it weighs a lot, you know, and she's already a little hefty girl. And we may or may not have talked about possibly removing these spring buckets last night. We may or may not be going to coil over, but I'll wait for Kevin to tell you about that. For now, I'm just gonna cut that cross member out in a 3rd-link thing. All right, here we go. Oh, woo! It's out.
Oh, you like need a bevel.
We're that close. We're gonna go do the old trick.
Take a hammer and just beat it. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. We're recording.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
There. Go right up against that seam. There's a will, there's a way.
You want to shove it in there?
Yeah. Yeah. Come right in.
Is that as tight as you wanted it?
Perfect. It ain't falling out.
All right, so we're close. We probably should have just grounded down some more so it fit. We found out the porta power, the jack with the 4x4 works if we go right on this side, and you can actually watch it spread open. And I think we'll get it. So the front subframe that attaches the transfer case is the only other thing holding it in the middle of the frame. So if we do that, the whole thing just falls.
How's it coming along?
It's going. Just give me some. Do you have any over-the-ear muffs? Yeah, but how do you you gotta plug your ears too.
I'll stand behind you and plug your ears.
I'm gonna take your ear holes.
No.
Come here.
No, I have hair. Stop. Don't think that. Oh my God, Kevin.
All right. Okay. Oops. Lost it anyway.
Just set it down.
Oh yeah. Woo! You're there.
Don't go too far. Put a bolt in it. I told you to put a bolt in it.
Which one? Oh.
Sure, it's
That would have been the smart thing to do.
I said put a bolt in it. So as you can see, we're trying to get this plate. The plate's located up front. Now we're trying to get the plate located.
Do you want me to?
I need to get that tab back up over that though.
Yeah.
She's moving.
That's it. It's in. Yeah, that's supposed to be a drain hole. Oh, that's supposed to have one of these.
Sick.
Yeah, almost.
That's where she
What's
goes.
Close.
gonna work?
So
Teamwork.
this just needs to come down a tad. You see right here, there's a little gap. So this will come back down. This needs to get a bolt hole going through it. So we're gonna have to open up this hole here. There's supposed to be a bolt hole right there, and it's just barely off.
Well, the problem is
The frame is twisted.
you put a, how you get a nut on the other end of that?
You don't. What do you mean? It's threaded.
Not if you you want to move the hole in the plate over.
Yeah. I was just saying open up the hole right here in the plate.
You was thinking open up the hole in the frame? That was my first thought also.
I'm gonna open up, and then this one
I
doesn't.
can't see. I'm like, what are you
This
doing
one
over
doesn't.
there?
This one doesn't have a hole. So we're gonna have to drill and tap that, or nutsert it, or
Yep.
something. We've got it all in. This is the whole skid plate, and you can see the gap is perfect. We thought the frame was tweaked or something, but look how straight that skid plate is to the frame. And the other side, look at that. It's a perfect straight line, so that is all good. We did, trying to get this in here, I did have like Chris grind this down because it was so tight, but we didn't think about undoing that cross member up there and doing the porta power thing. But it's very high clearance and very in here. This is pretty much perfect. You just have to be smart and work with it. There could be things. So every frame is slightly off. They're not laser precision. We do have to open up this bolt hole just a tad, and then the other side is actually fine. So that one is actually fine. That one fits. So Chris is just gonna burn it in. Well, that's where that goes. Yeah, we'll tack it. Now we can get this under here, get the arms on, and like actually get it up in here. So cool. The new Rockzilla kit. I think we're the first ones with it. I don't think.
No wonder it was so hard to put in.
I think we're the first ones. We're gonna have to like show Jeremy all these little things, but look at that. Complete flat belly, triangulated 4-link. Yeah, that's sick.
It's just tacked, but now I can weld it in. All right, I got that big old piece of metal right there. I got that all glued in, and then I went ahead and just threw the arms in it. Obviously the aluminum ones are on the bottom and the big metal ones are on the top. They say that the kink goes towards the frame side, and that's for clearance at the frame, but I just had it up there and I think we can get away with straight ones. I don't know, we'll see here in a minute. Also got the Dynatrac 80 all tacked up. The other thing we did is we set them at stock. We don't want to go any wider and increase this lower triangulation. 2 reasons why the lower arm might hit the frame. Also, because we want to possibly go coilover and bypass in here and set a coilover and a bypass this way, we'll leave that, but that's going to go away. We'll set 2 of them in here. If we go a hair narrower, it makes it so that the axle will swing this way a little bit and this way a little bit, so that we get the extra tire clearance up here, if that makes any sense. If we go really wide with this lower pickup and we make the lower pickup wider, it'll swing more centrally and we'll really get some tire stuff into that fender. So we're actually trying to get the axle to just swing a little bit both ways at articulation. I don't know if we'll be able to physically demonstrate that or show you, but mathematically that's what we need to do. So these are right at stock. They're tacked on. We're going to see if we can get away with it. If we can't, we will break those off and I'll move them in probably about a 1/2 inch to see if we can get more swing out. So right now we're going to lower this thing down here and I'm going to stick this on. I know I don't have the top truss on it, but I can still get axle lengths and I can still strap this up to the frame so that at least we can get it in there and see what we're dealing with. Alright, so we did get the rear end mocked up, and it's in there. We are still missing the truss in the middle. Kevin and I were out here trying to see if we could articulate it out and get some math and measurements and stuff like that, but we can't. So the truss will be here in another day or 2. So that we don't have any downtime, I do know that there's some wiring up here. Now that we took all the evap stuff out of here, all the original locker harness and stuff is all in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get that out of here. There's a couple of wiring issues in here that I want to take care of. The old front locker harness that used to be in here, I'm going to do that today. I'm probably going to put the engine bay back together because we are not going to raise the towers. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little bit of bench work and get some wiring done, and I'll be right back with you. So Kevin and I were under here messing around with the axle, and at full stuff, these lower links, the lower links when they're on, they do that, and it's a possibility that they hit the frame. Just touch the frame. But when it goes into articulation, it wants to go up a little bit higher on that side. So what I am going to do is, I've already marked it, but I'm going to pocket this side of just this corner of the frame, just to make sure that we don't get any link bind or anything, and that's easy. So I'm going to pocket these 2 out real quick. I do have some material to put in there, and that should give us just that little bit of room. We can't really stuff the axle any farther because the wheels won't let us, so we don't have to worry about that, but I just don't want to damage a link or come into any kind of bind. That could put some stress on the heims or the crawler joints that are up in here, so we're going to just eliminate all that. All right, well, we got it cut out, and as you can see, there's a lot of dirt in there. I'm like, why is this not cutting real well? Why does it smell horrible? All right, we got a couple holes in the frame. Now we just gotta fill them with half a pipe. I did find a little half piece of pipe, and there it is. Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap right there at the top of this one. Miscalculation, but the rest of it fits pretty good. Now we're just gonna weld these in and then cut them off, and then we'll have little notches in the bottom of the corners for the pipe. That's all we needed was a little bit of room. I'll get these welded in and cleaned off and look like nothing ever happened. All right, and that is a wrap. I'm pretty excited about these ones. They came out pretty nice. They're perfect. They are super nice. And as you can see, if you look at that link, we chopped off a lot of that corner. This whole corner used to be here, so now we got plenty of room. We got a lot of clearance there. It doesn't look like much from here, but it's an illusion because we had to get rid of this whole corner, so it's actually quite a bit. All right, so now we got the rear end all pocketed. The last step is build a truss. So we started building templates. We got some plates on here. This is gonna be the back template. It's gonna sit like this. And then there's gonna be another one over here just like it. So we're gonna get these things cut out. We got some steel over here on the bench. So we're just gonna cut 2 of these guys out. And I got the plasma out. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get all suited up.
Chris, what are you doing?
Building a truss. We're building truss day.
Oh, for the 80?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You can continue with that. We need to cut all the stuff off the front, and maybe cut the towers off the rear, and maybe relocate the shock brackets for the axle.
I quit.
No,
I quit.
seriously, we have to cut it all off.
I quit. I'm going.
We have to. Okay, real quick, guys. So we've been trying to fit a bypass and a coilover in here, which is super sick. I also want to fit a bypass and a coilover in the rear, which it doesn't seem like we can actually fit both of those. And I don't want to go back to a coil spring and bypass, although I can because it's great. But I just want bigger and badder and more amazinger. There's some little inherent things like the sway bar here. Once this is here, the sway bar, we don't know if we can make a sway bar fit, so we might have to like delete the front sway bar or make something super crazy happen. Back here, when we sort of got the axle in, we could put a coilover in here, or I could just put a coilover here, but I don't want just a coilover. I don't like just coilovers. I wanted coilover bypass, and we figured we could do a tower in here and have them here, but there's too much articulation and the tire will get into having the bypass here. So there's no coilover bypass available to do this without cutting in the frame and cutting the body and boxing all that. So that sucks. We can go back to a coil spring. Now to me, so far, the normal coil spring from Rock Crawler, the triple rate spring and a triple bypass has been phenomenal. The only reason I'm changing this is because I'm me and I want bigger, badder, better. The only thing better than a coil spring and a bypass is not a coilover. Coilovers they're okay, like they're good, but they're not what I want. Once you have a bypass, triple bypass, you'll never want to go back. Which the only better thing is coilover bypass. Except I was just talking to Phil Licardi over at Liberty Mountain Fab, who does suspension, it's all our suspension tuning and all that crazy stuff. And he said, hey, there's actually a brand new coilover that's an internal bypass, but it's a multi-ring bypass. It's got like 5 rings inside of this coilover that it flows as much as like a 5-tube external bypass. And it's the newest, biggest, baddest thing on the market. 3-inch coilovers. With the spring and everything, it's like a 5-inch monstrous thing. And so that means if Chris cuts all this off, he can build it one tower that'll go behind here, have this big, massive 5-inch coilover. It's a 3-inch coilover, but 5-inch total. Here, which is internal bypass, we'll have our sway bar back, and it'll fit in the rear. So instead of having 2 shocks per corner, 8 shocks total, we're back to just 4, but it's internal bypassed. And I think that's the route we're going to go. Actually, I know that's the route we're going to go because it's going to simplify all of this. We'll get our sway bars back front and rear, and it'll make Chris's job from here on out quite a bit easier. So we're going to go 14-inch internal bypassed, but I don't want to talk about it too much until we actually have them here and I can show you, because getting them might be kind of difficult. I don't know. It's just I'm letting Phil work on that right now, and then we'll update you when that comes. But I got to go find Chris because he does need to finish this truss. I just got off the phone with Phil, and this is it. This is the route we need to go. This is what we're doing. I thought you quit. Are you down with just going to one shock per corner? One coilover per quarter? Now the sway bars fit. We don't have to cut the frame. We don't have to cut the body. We don't have to relocate batteries and relocate ABS blocks and relocate.
That works. Whatever you want, Kevin. I'm here for you.
Hey, this is why we tacked everything in.
Everything.
We tacked everything in. Nothing's been situated. According to Phil, and this is shock Jesus. He said, hey, this is what you do.
Tell me this last week, Phil.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me this when we tore this apart? All right, so that's what we're doing. When we get the stuff, we'll show you. This just is what it is.
All right, back to building the truss. I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out, build a couple of plates, and then I'll show you what I come up with here shortly. So this is what we're coming up with. Not too shabby. I basically took 2 old lowers, chopped them off at 20 degrees, and made them uppers and flipped them over. All 1/4 inch plate, ties into both axles. I made some plates for the bolt holes, and this is where we are currently. So now what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to just run a rib across the center, or probably as close to this bolt as I can, because I don't want to put this inside. That was the problem with the old one, is the truss was like in here and you could never get to that. Thank God it never leaked, but I want to be able to access that. So I'm just going to make a rib go, up and over now, and then I'll tie this in to the plate from here so that we still have access to this. So it'll run right here, and then this will all get boxed off. I'll triangulate this into this corner with another plate in here and another plate in here, and then cap the whole thing off and we'll be done. So I got a couple more plates to make, and this is the progress so far. All right, this is what we ended up with. This is the truss. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. This is just where the design led me. Probably gonna cap this off, triangulate this up to here, but I have to leave this open because I need to get to that bolt. Same over here. But now you can see that I have the airline is outside of the truss. It doesn't look bad. I'm not welding to the cast. I am using this 1/4 inch plate, bolting it down. I will weld it to the axle tube. And like I said, this tube does not need a truss. This is not what the truss is for. The truss is for just the upper pickups, because we're not bending this axle. There's no way you're bending this axle. But I also might take the front out to this plate. So I'll figure out how to incorporate this plate into this. So now we're gonna get it under there, and we're actually gonna articulate it and figure out all of the numbers. And Kevin still hasn't told me what he's gonna do, but I think he told you guys already. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But for now, we're just gonna get this axle back in here and see what happens when I articulate it, and see how centered it is, and see how much room I have in the wheel wells, and then I will report back to him, and then hopefully whatever he had came up with and told you guys actually fits. All right, so we have her semi set up. I want to lift that pinion angle up a little bit more, but adjusting these upper links is kind of a pain in the butt in its current situation because I'm on stands and everything, so I have to like completely take them off and turn them out. But we're only a degree or two off. This is why we pocketed it. This is more than full stuff. This axle will never be this tall. I just wanted to see how far up we can actually get it to go. So it does need to go this way a 1/2 inch, which is why I have gap over here and not over there. We're not 100% set up, but we're set up enough to do what we're needing to do next. And I'm gonna have to cut this guy off and angle it down a little bit because that shock is much longer than the one that we were running in the back of this, because we are going longer. I don't know what he's doing now. We still haven't discussed it. I'm still a little upset, but right now I'm just gonna figure out base numbers and then we'll go from there. All right, so there she is. We put a tire on it. I lowered it down till we had 21 inches to the frame. That's what we started with originally. Then what I do now is I measure between that shock bracket eyelet, and I came up with 23 inches at this ride height. Problem now is Kevin gave me a new target of 24 inches collapsed. So now you can see I have to figure out where I need to make up about 5 inches, because we want about 5 inches of ride height shock travel. So now I got to get under there, and I'm probably going to have to redesign that rear tower and make it go up as high as it can go, so I can make that tower just go up farther. Because we have the rear tank and we've already moved the fuel neck and stuff, there's actually some room up there that I can go up and we can still get a bolt in it and stuff like that. So I'm going to sit down now and redesign a new shock tower to fit in that hole. And then I think I can go about 3 or 4 inches up, which means I can lower that shock bracket on the axle tab 1 inch or 2 without a problem. So right now I'm just going to see how far up I can get that shock tab to go. Let's do some other playing around first. So now that we're up in the air, let's throw some jacks underneath it. First, we're gonna go to full droop. So if I have to gain 5 inches, this is probably a lot of math for everybody, but basically I have to bury 5 inches.
What do you mean by that?
It's 33. So 33 eyelet to eyelet would be max extension at the moment. So let's go up and take these off, see what 33 looks like, because I bet you it's gonna be pretty freaking wild. Yeah, so that's a bit of droop. That's a lot of droop. That's 33 inches out of the eye because I'm going to make up 5 up top somewhere. So this is about where it's going to limit it, is right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jack this other side up as far as I can get it to go. And full compression on that side, like 28 and a half inches. So now I got to collapse this side to 28 and a half inches, and we'll see what this thing looks like when she's all twisted up. And this is why you watch the channel, right? So that you don't make the same mistakes I do, or I'll figure them out for you before you make the mistakes. It looks like that arm moves a lot farther over than I wanted it to, and we still have like 4 inches. We still have to go up like 4 inches. And it looks like this link right here, that link is gonna get into that frame a lot farther over than I had expected. Unfortunately, this looks great, but I'm gonna have to cut all that off. What I think I'm gonna end up doing is actually just cutting the whole bottom of this frame off all the way across. So that really sucks. Last piece of the puzzle. Until next time, after Kevin brings me the shocks that he thinks we're gonna run, and then I figure out how to put those in there. Oh, now I gotta figure out a solution. So give me a minute, I'll be back. All right, solution has been found. As much as I don't really wanna do this again, I'm gonna pocket the frame a little bit bigger this time. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do it. I basically took a straight edge from the center of this point to where this arm would be once we get to 19 inches, which is just shy of the top of this tube. So I basically took a straight edge from the top of this tube to center, drew a line across the frame. And then what I did is I took the angle of the dangle on this side and I moved it over considerably and I made it straight. So what I'm essentially going to do is just cut this off. I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to take a piece of square tubing and angle it through there so it'll be straight across here and then back. So the corner will be up here to right over here. So the corner of that tube is here. I know all these lines look funny, but I swear it'll work out because my micrometers tell me so. And then after we have that nicely cut out, 4-inch square tube fits right up there like a glove. So I'll trace this out, I'll cut this piece out, and then we'll go ahead and get this thing tacked in. I'll clean it, of course. I'll clean it. All right, we got the piece cut out. Kind of looks like that. And it's gonna fit in there just like that. And it should be a nice little frame pocket. I'm gonna get them both cleaned up and we'll get this thing tacked in there. Well, we'll get it welded in. All right, and after a couple of hours, now we're pocketed. Pretty nice pocket there. Got them on both sides. I know it's a little late, so it's a little dark, but there those are. So now we got plenty of pocket in there. Now we just gotta put that back in. I'll tell you, once you get it pocketed and you get that other side stuffed, that thing looks ridiculous. There she is. That's basically a 14-inch coilover over there. And this one is at full stuff. And as you can see, that link now is plenty pocketed. We've got plenty of room up over there because we are basically stuffed over here. I mean, that is impressive. That wheel is up in there. No fender on it, but she is in there. Well, everything seems to be happy. Now we just gotta wait for Kevin to decide what he's gonna do for shocks. I'm pretty sure he told you, but he's already gone and he didn't tell me, so I guess I'll be surprised when they get here. Other than that, boy, I have destroyed this shop. I'm gonna spend the rest of the night cleaning. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and share. And remember, you can get all of your Lite Brite merch and decals at litebritstudios.com. Hopefully the next video, she'll be back on the ground. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah, just like.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do this and plug one of his ears, and you do
I
this
did
and plug his
elbow
other
with
ear.
one ear.
Yeah, we'll just plug his
I'll
ears
shoulder
like this.
one, and you'll plug one of mine, and I'll
Yeah,
and you
we'll
plug
just
shoulder,
plug
and then
him.
elbow, and then plug me. We got it.